I don't know what happened. Good morning, and how are you? Well, now, my God, isn't it marvelous? Let me just show you. Here we go. Now, doesn't that look stunning? And I'm going to tell you what. While it looks like, oh, God, that's a great place to skate, that was open the other day. So, never in my life do I ever remember Forest Pond being open January 17th. Isn't that hard to believe? I know it's not January 17th now, but I mean, that's when it was open and I made note of it. So how are you all doing? My God, it's been 3 weeks. Really, hasn't it? Because not last week and not the week before. So it was the week before that. And I'm gonna tell you what, I missed you. Hang on, I gotta put on my gloves. Enough to skin you out. I don't know where uh it's 6 degrees -6, I think. Which, sorry, it's a bit wiggly. I know you're looking at my head. I know you're delighted with it, aren't you? Hang on, let me let me show you the full thing. It's sweet. You see? Now there has been considerable talk about my hats. Now I could go without a hat. Hang on. I did do my hair. However, my last haircut makes me look a little bit like David Cassidy. And so I thought I'll slip on a hat today. Remember David Cassidy? Hang on. Remember David Cassidy? If you remember him, or if you know who I'm talking about, put a picture in the comments so that other people might see it and know, oh God, yeah, she does. Does have a similarity. Thank you, Judy. Anyway, it's funny. You go to a hairdresser and they do your hair and you're marvelous, and oh God, aren't you wonderful? And then you go and you do it yourself, and it's just like you were hacked to death on your own in the bed at night. I mean, I don't know how my hair turns that way, but anyway, from time to time it does. So anyway, the hat. It is sweet. Now, there has been considerable talk about my hat in the past, and people have, well, I'll say it, they've mocked it. But it's all in good fun. And so, anyway, I put down the gauntlet and I said, well, listen, darling, if you can do better, come on with it. And so, Brenda Rose, I think it is Brenda Rose, I know it is. She is knitting a hat now because Dana has had challenged her to it. And so I said, well, I can't wait to get it. And so anyway, apparently the wool is coming from some women's co-op in Uruguay or something. So I can't wait to wear that little hat. I don't think it's going to be cuter than the one I got on. In the meantime, how has your past 2 weeks been? Has it been good? Because I'm going to tell you what. The first week, I said, my God, I just feel like something's wrong. After doing these videos for 44 weeks, you just feel like, my God, I should be doing something. It's Thursday morning. And so I allowed myself Thursday morning and said, okay, I'll relax and I'll enjoy myself. And I did. And that night, I started to get a little bit this sort of carry on, where you get a little bit of a scratch to your throat. And I said, don't suppose I'm getting a cold. And I work in long-term care, as you know, and I knew that I hadn't, been around anyone. I keep my distance. I wear the masks, all of these things, and my hands are worn out from sanitizer. So I knew I was vigilant, and so still though, razor blade in my throat, and so I thought I'll go and get a test because I do work in long-term care and I can't risk putting these residents at risk. And so I went to get a test out to Waterford parking lot. And anyway, the woman there said when we went up, that's my brother there, God love him. When I went up to the thing, the woman said, oh God, Sheila, how are you, honey? She was pleased to see me, thank God. And we talked for a little bit. And next thing, this fella came out and rooted a thing up my nose. And, 24 hours later, actually it was closer to 27, I found out I don't have COVID. Thank God. Negative. Just a raging cold. And so anyway, I was off because you're not allowed to go into work. And so anyway, I was off for that week, until the next Monday sort of thing or something. I can't remember now. It doesn't matter. It's not important to the story. The point is, though, while I was off, because I'm not able to really sit down and take a blow. I painted all the moldings in the house. I thought, oh, well, you take your time, pick away one room at a time. My dear, you don't know what you'd get done. So anyway, that was my 2 weeks away from you. And last week I was going to come on, and I just was too sick. I just thought I can't do that because you look like an arse, don't you? When you're on your this sort of carry on. So I said, no, I shan't do it. And not only that, I was off from work, so I didn't know if the optics would look that great. That's only between us. So anyway, but it has been a good couple of weeks, but I did miss you. And so I thought I'll come on now and say hello to you because, okay, so a couple of people have sent me messages and said, Sheila, I'd love to see you. And I thought, yeah, I'd love to see you. I miss your little messages. And so anyway, my mom's anniversary is this week. This is always a tough time. My mom passed, it'll be 5 years on February 1st. And so I put a memorial in the paper and I do things and whatever. And we all remember in different ways. And so I thought I'll come on here now and I'll tell you about my mother because I know you know about her. I'm going to put the sun on my back there for a minute because my eyes are gone from squinting. I know you know her because I've told you all about it. My mother was sort of the matriarch of the family. And I was telling someone the other day, Mom used to say, she had an answer for everything, you see. And she used to say, honey, if you show me a hole and I'll fill it. And I thought, I think I've got that wrong. So I went home because I said it on stage. That's what Mom said. Mom said, show me your hole, honey, and I'll fill it. I said, Mom, I don't think I said that wrong. No, I said that right. She said, no, darling, you didn't. She said, the saying is, and Mom used to do this, her mom, was if you make a hole, I'll fill it. In other words, if you put a space there, I'm going to fill it with something, dialogue, something. Or if there's a problem, I'll fix it. That's the sort of thing. And that's the approach Mom took in her life. And so, anyway, and I'll tell you, years ago, she was very quick witted and a little tiny bit sarcastic. And I might have slipped into some of that as well, sarcasm. All of us probably have. And Dad wasn't as quick-witted. He was funny. Dad was funny and, could tell a story and such. But he wasn't as quick-witted as Mom. And so anyway, one day, Dad, not having something to come back with, said to Mom, oh, yes, listen to Bess now. And Bess was, hang on now, there's the man who does the garbage. Bess was Mom's mother. And he thought it was an insult. And Mom turned on her heel and she looked at him. She said, you listen here. She said, if you are calling me by my mother's name, don't think for 1 second I'm insulted by this. I take it as the greatest honor because my mother was a lady. So she said, don't think you'll ever put me off. Well, that was the end of that. Dad didn't call her Bess again. And I remember that so well. My mother was a lady, and my mother was a lady too. And so, anyway, when years ago they would go down to Florida, and when Dad died, that was back in 1999. Dad died, and he died on his birthday, actually. Isn't that He died, he was 61 on September 6th, and he died on September 6th. And so, anyway, he died on his birthday. And I remember Mom going through a struggle at that time. And she was a bit depressed about it, and of course she would be because losing your husband for so long, blah blah blah. You're going to be depressed. And so anyway, and she had a companion in Father Ken Walsh. he was up here at St. Kevin's, and he was new to St. Kevin's. But anyway, they became great friends because he's a jovial fellow, a very lovely and amiable and funny. And so anyway, she had a great companionship with him, and she was wondering about going back to Florida. And so he said, Rosemary, you have to go to Florida. And she said, yeah, well, I wondered, should I? And he said, listen to me. He said, we must all have something to look forward to. And, it struck me the other day, we must have something to look forward to. Here we are in the height of COVID, and it feels like the height again, doesn't it? Oh my God, 2 years in, and it feels like we're still in the height of it. And people are starting to feel downhearted. I know they are. We and feeling like what's the sense of it all, that sort of thing, and I was talking to my uncle Billy yesterday, and I was saying, and I mean, you try and do good. You're going along, you're being a good person, you're trying to eat the right foods, and every now and again you might have a treat or something. Next thing you got 20 pounds on. I mean, how is it fair? I mean, the old fella says if you can't have a dozen of eggs and a pound of bacon in the morning, what is the odds of it? And I said, fair enough. And he said, well, he said, Sheila, Billy said, at least our weather has been good. And I said, listen, Jesus Christ came down and said, you know what? These people are going through enough. Let's give them an easy winter. And I think that's really what happened here. I think at any moment he's going to touch my hand and say, give her $1 million. But anyway, we don't know when that's going to happen. But that's a separate point. So anyway, he said, you must go to Florida. And so Mom had started Florida early on, years ago, in the 90s, like early, perhaps late 80s. And so anyway, uh, so when they first went to Florida, all the sisters went. Dot and Betty. Betty and I and Mom went for years and years after. But Dot and Betty and Mom, I think Molly, and I think Marg and Barb all went, their aunts, all my aunts, they all went together. And anyway, they were staying in this place sight unseen. And it wasn't the day of the internet. This is in the 90s when the computer was used as a paperweight. So anyway, it was down at the Bay Pines or something like this in Florida, in St. Pete Beach. That's when it was called St. Pete's Beach. They've dropped that S after. And so anyway, when they went in, it was squalor. And Mom was so disappointed because Mom, you see, was the matriarch. Mom was the person who organized it all and sort of, made sure that they all got there safely and sensibly. And Dot was the follow along. She was so excited about it, and thrilled that they're on their little trip. And so, anyway, when they got there and it was squalor, Mom didn't know what to do. She looked around, like just as if to say, my God, we can't stay in this. And so, and the pool was green, and there was burn marks on the tables, and that sort of carry on. And anyway, Dot said, no. Dot was ever positive, said she could fix it. Like you make a hole and I'll fill it. It was that sort of thing. Not show me your hole and I'll fill it. You make a hole and I'll fill it. Anyway, and Dot was that way. She said, no, this is going to be perfect. She said, this is going to be great. Now I'll get out the tablecloth. We'll get a nice tablecloth and we'll cover this. And she said, we'll get an ashtray now and we'll put under the leg and make sure it doesn't wobble. That sort of carry on. And Mom said, no, I don't think so. And Mom went in on the phone on the bed and called Dad. And this when he was alive, certainly. So anyway, as you obviously. And so she called Dad and told him about the squalor. And he said, look, go somewhere else. She said, they won't give us our deposit back. And he said, well, never mind about the money. He said, go somewhere else and enjoy your time. And so Mom had made it in her mind, yep, we're going somewhere else. When she made up her mind and went outside to tell the girls out to the kitchen, Dad had by this time hooked out a 2-liter can pitcher. Now she brought this from Newfoundland. She probably got it over to in Kilbride there somewhere. She brought a 2 liter can of pineapple juice. She was a Floridian now. She's starting her Florida holiday. And she opened up the can and poured them all up a drink, had the ashtrays out, and they all had a sensible cigarette. And she said, now look, this is going to be perfect. Anyway, what happened was, Mom, you make a hole, I'll fill it. Mom said, no, darling, what we're going to do is we're going to find a nice place now. And they did. They found a place called the Lamera, and we made so many fabulous friends. They stayed there. Mom stayed there every year for years, 20 years more. And we made such wonderful friends there. So, the point is, Mom was the matriarch, and she was the fixer. And if you had an issue, you go to Mom. Mom will straighten it out, just like her mom before her. And so God rest her. My God, it'll be 5 years on the 1st of February, and I miss her just as much today as I did when she passed. And anyway, you know what? It's just so wonderful to have these stories, and this is so important for you. Listen to the stories that your mom and dad are telling you, because these are the stories that are going to last. Now, before I go, I have a story for you. I'm going to tell you, my friend Fab, her name is Tish McGraw, but I call her Fab because she's fabulous. She called last night with a joke. I'm going to tell you that one. No, I won't. I'll save it for next week. Well, I'm not on next week. I'll tell you that too now in a minute. No. Yes, I'll tell it to you. Anyway, she called last night. She said, Fab, I had a little joke. I thought you might like it. I said, my God, all right. I can't wait to hear it. So she started, and she said, this woman went to a restaurant, and she said, and it was a nice restaurant, and all the waiters were done up in their blacks, and and everyone just looked dynamite. And she said, and as the woman was seated, she noticed that every single waiter or waitress had a spoon in their pocket. And so she called the waiter over, and she said, how come? How come you all have a spoon in your chest pocket? And he said, you know what? There was an efficiency test done on the efficiency of restaurants, and he said, and it was found out that the most often dropped utensil is a spoon. So have a spoon ready, and that'll save your trips back and forth to the kitchen. My God, she said, that's really wonderful. How smart. And she said, and I can't help but notice that all the men have a string dangling from their fly. Now, she said, what is that about? Well, he said, what that's about is, he said, when we go to the bathroom, so that we don't have to wash our hands, we just pull on the string, do the bit of business, and that's that. And she said, well, it's all right to pull on the string and have everything out. But she said, how do you tuck it back in? He said, well, I don't know about everyone else, but I use the spoon. I know, it was terrible. I was going through a thing the other day because usually on Mom's birthday, I know you're delighted with it, aren't you? Isn't that shocking? All I could see was the spoon. Anyway, I usually put up some sort of tribute to Mom for her birthday or for Mother's Day or for the anniversary. And so I was going through a video that I did last year, and I was reminded of this story about this fella. And it happened here on the farm, and I forgot all about it. Anyway, this fella called Dad and said, my God, he said, look, come. Now, you mean to tell me? That's the feed fella. He said, he said, he said, I had to kill the cow. He said, what happened? What happened? He said, no, but he said he went along, and next thing he fell down the hole. He said, oh my God, did you shoot him in the hole? He said, no, in the head. And now, see, if Mom were alive, God rest her, she would say, she couldn't get the punchline out. She'd say, so anyway, he said, did you shoot him in the hole? And Buddy said, no. That's the truth. That's how she do it. My God. So I'm going to take a break next week again. So I may do it like every second week and come on and see you and make sure you're all doing okay. Let me know how you're doing in the comments, will you, please? I hope you're doing great. And if you, that's my brother, he's dying to get on the camera, dying to get on it. And, if you have any comments about my little hat, don't hesitate to tell me. Love to you.